Hello, my name is Jim Garris, and this is UPC's Godly Play story, Abraham and Sarah Welcome God's Answer, one of a series of 4 that are an expansion on the great family story. To tell this story, one needs the desert box, a standard set of the people of God figures, a bundle of sticks, a sheep, a tent, a couple of popsicle sticks, a tree, and a bag of rocks. This is the desert. The desert is a dangerous place. It's hot in the desert. So hot that by day it will burn your skin if you don't wear clothing to protect you. It gets cold at night in the desert. You need to bundle up at night or you'll die in the desert. But many important things happen in the desert. So we have a piece of the desert here in our classroom. Abram and Sarah lived on the edge of the desert in Ur, in the land of the Chaldees, when God came close to Abram. And Abram came close to God, and God said, Abram, leave your homeland and your people, and follow me to the land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. And I will bless those who bless you, and those who curse you I will curse, and through you all the nations of the earth will be blessed. And so Abram and his wife Sarai left the land of Ur and obediently followed God across the desert until, at last, they reached the land of Canaan. In Canaan they settled near the oaks of Mamre. And God blessed Abram, and his herds became plentiful. He had many, many sheep and goats and many servants. But Abram had no children. 2 more times God came close to Abram, and Abram came close to God. And each time, God repeated that he would make from Abram a great nation, a people to call his very own. But years passed, and still Abram and Sarai had no children. And they began to wonder, would God keep his promise? One day, when Abram and Sarai were old, far past the years when one might have children, they received 3 visitors. The visitors came in the cool of the afternoon as Sarai rested in the tent, and Abram greeted them, and he showed them hospitality. He washed their feet, and he called to Sarai, and he asked her to make fine loaves of bread and select from the herd a fine animal that could be prepared for dinner. And Sarai did as she was asked. And Abram and his guests sat in the shade of the tree, and they ate. Sarai returned to the tent. And as they ate, the guests said, "Surely in a year's time we will come back and you will have a son, a child born from your own body and from the womb of Sarai. Abram pondered these words, but Sarai in the tent couldn't help but laugh. One of the visitors said, "Why did Sarah laugh?" And Sarah protested, "I didn't laugh. It was a sneeze." They said, "Nonetheless, in a year's time from now, we will come back and you will have your own baby son." And you did laugh. And the visitors departed from Abram. And in time, the words the visitors had spoken came true. And in time, Sarai brought forth a son. And they named him Isaac, which means laughter, because Sarai thought, when I heard I would have a son, I laughed, and now everyone can laugh with me. They named the boy Isaac, and he grew. And some years later, God once again came close to Abram. And he said, "Abram, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and take him through the desert to the mountain that I will show you. And there you will sacrifice him as a burnt offering for me." The next day, Abram got up. He summoned Isaac and two of his servants, and they gathered together sticks for the offering. Abram carried a torch for the fire. And they set off across the desert. When they had gone a long ways, they saw in the distance a great mountain. And it was there that the Lord indicated that Abram should sacrifice Isaac. And so he gave instructions to the servants to wait there. He said, "I and the boy will go off and offer the sacrifice, and we will return to you when we're done." And so they set off toward the mountain. On the way, Isaac asked his father, he said, "Father, I see we have wood for the fire, I see we have the knife, and I see that you've brought the torch, but where is the animal for the sacrifice?" And Abram said, "Don't worry, my son. God himself will provide the sacrifice." And when they reached the point on the mountain, Abram gathered stones and he built an altar. And they laid the sticks on the altar. And lastly, he bound Isaac's hands and laid him also upon the altar. Abram took the knife and he raised it, and he prepared to plunge it into Isaac as God had commanded. And just as he raised his arm, he heard a loud voice from Abram from God that twice called, "Abram, Abram, stop! Do not lay a hand on your son. For now I know that you love me more than anything else, because you have not withheld from me your son Isaac, who is of all things the most precious to you." take the boy and untie him. And as Abram cut the ropes that bound Isaac's wrists, at that moment they heard a noise in a thicket nearby. And when Abram looked, he found that there was a ram caught by the horns in the thicket. He took the animal, bound it, laid it upon the altar, and there he offered the burnt offering to the Lord. For God had provided the sacrifice, just as Abram had trusted. Have Abram and the servants, Isaac, Sarai, the tent, the lamb that God provided, the sticks for the fire, the rocks for the altar. And the tree. Now I wonder what part of this story you like the best. I wonder if there is a part of this story that you found frightening or scary. I wonder what's most precious in your life. I wonder what you would do if God asked you to give that up to Him. God never, ever asks moms and dads to sacrifice their children. The Bible tells us that the story of Abram and Isaac on Mount Moriah was where God tested Abram. But He didn't mean for him to kill Isaac. And that's the story of Abram and Sarah welcoming God's answer.